Thanks very much for tuning in. Unmissable with me, Nabila Jamal, right here on News9. Our playlist for the day tonight, we're going to take you through stories around the government announcing the caste census that will happen simultaneously when the national survey happens. And then we have into our deep dive segment a very sad story of a techie based from Mysuru in the United States has killed his family and shot himself. The reasons for it, we explore. And finally, the Indian diaspora across the world paying their respects and condemning the massacre that happened in Pahalgam, mourning the 26 innocent lives. As always, the headlines first. The centre's big move ahead of Bihar elections. Cabinet Committee on Political Affairs decides to include caste survey in the forthcoming census exercise. Congress and other opposition parties welcome the centre's caste census. In fact, Rahul Gandhi says, glad that the centre has adopted our vision. Prime Minister Modi chairs crucial CCS meeting on Pahalgam attack amid tensions with Pakistan. CCS reviews security situation in Jammu and Kashmir. This is possibly the first time that the Prime Minister is having one. Maybe the second time after the Pahalgam, but the first, in a sense, after 2019. And meanwhile, the government revamps the National Security Advisory Board. Amid the tensions with Pakistan, here are new members. Former RAW Chief Alok Joshi has been appointed as the new chairperson of the NSA. Indian and Pakistani DGMOs have spoken over hotline, possibly the first communication since the Pahalgam attack. India warns Pakistan over unprovoked ceasefire violations that continue along the line of control. Prime Minister Modi has cancelled his Russia visit. Defence Minister Rajni Singh now to be attending the Victory Day parade in Moscow that was ideally had Prime Minister Modi invited for the event, but you have Rajni Singh to replace him. Police have warned people against separatist groups in Srinagar, put up posters and make announcements via loudspeakers, asking locals not to get swayed by any kind of militancy narratives. Bangladesh court grants bail to former ISKCON leader Chinmoy Krishna Das in a sedition case. Donald Trump eases auto tariffs to prevent price hikes, job losses and plant closures, gives reprieve for auto industry. The big move here by the government of India, they've announced caste census, something which the Congress had been backing and batting for all these years. The NDA government now has made this big announcement. In a landmark shift ahead of the Bihar polls, the Modi government has now cleared the decks for a caste enumeration in the upcoming national census, a decision that could fundamentally reshape India's social policy landscape. Announcing the decision, Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has said that this move reinforces the centre's commitment to justice and equity, but he didn't hold back. In fact, went on to slam the Congress for weaponizing caste surveys in the past, accusing the opposition and the governments that it right now holds of trying to carry out unscientific caste surveys that are non-transparent, basically for their political gains. Now, let me take you through what Ashwini Vaishnav said.
Congress and its Indie alliance partners have used caste census only as a political tool. Some others have conducted such surveys purely from a political angle in a non-transparent way. Such surveys have created doubts in the society. Considering all these facts and to ensure that a social fabric is not disturbed by politics, caste enumeration should be transparently included. I'm emphasizing the word transparently transparently included in the census instead of surveys. This will strengthen the social and economic structure of our society while the nation continues to progress.
Now, what does this really mean? For the first time since 1931, the Indian census will attempt to officially record the caste identity of every citizen beyond just scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. It's a move, of course, loaded with political weight and significance, especially with elections now looming in caste-sensitive Bihar and with opposition parties, of course, long demanding this very data. It seems like the NDA has decided to announce it. Rahul Gandhi, of course, quick to respond, welcomed this decision, but fired a sharp question back. Where's the timeline? When will the caste census be rolled out? Will there be a cap? Will the, in fact, cap of 50% on reservations be removed? Here's what Rahul Gandhi said.
पार्लियामेंट में हमने कहा था कि कास्ट सेंसस को हम करवा के छोड़ेंगे और हमने ये भी कहा था कि 50% की जो कैप है, जो आर्टिफिशियल दीवार लगा रखी है, उसको भी हम तोड़ के हटाएंगे। पता नहीं क्या हुआ, सडनली कास्ट सेंसस का अनाउंसमेंट किया। हम इसको सपोर्ट करते हैं, पूरी तरह सपोर्ट करते हैं, मगर हम टाइमलाइन चाहते हैं। हम जानना चाहते हैं ये कब तक होगा।
देखिए, ये हम लोगों की 30 वर्ष पुरानी मांग रही है और ये हमारे पुरखों की जीत है, समाजवादियों की जीत है, लालू जी की जीत है। आज हम लोगों की ताकत देखिए, समाजवादियों की ताकत देखिए कि इनको हमारे ही एजेंडे पर जो है काम करना पड़ रहा है। जैसे दलित और आदिवासी भाइयों का आरक्षित सीटें हैं, उसी प्रकार से पिछड़ों और अति पिछड़ों का भी जो है आरक्षित सीटें जो है वो करनी पड़ेगी।
They are more concerned about economically weaker section in upper castes. The reservation should not be based on economy. That is what the constitution says. But they have got EWS 10%. If at all they are doing it, we have only one thing, better thing is that we can go to court and fight out and seek to increase the percentage of reservation for the OBCs, STs and SCs.
Now, the centre announcing caste census raises a lot of questions. The three most important ones. Is the centre's move, of course, genuine? Is it a social justice push indeed or an election masterstroke? Number two, will this data finally lead to a rehaul of India's reservation system? And finally, can it really correct historical inequalities, or will this only deepen vote bank politics? Whatever is that, we wait and watch. It will be surely interesting, though, to see how survey numbers would reshape power equations across India now. Right now, Prime Minister Modi has swung into action. Remember, Pahalgam has not been forgotten. It's now 6 days and counting, and the government is doing all it can to recalibrate their security strategies. As we see, Prime Minister Modi, who swung into action, had back-to-back meetings, high-level meetings that he held with country's most powerful ministers exactly a week after the Pahalgam tragedy, where 26 innocent lives were taken at the hands of terrorists who infiltrated from Pakistan. First, the Prime Minister chaired a crucial meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Security, India's top war room, comprising the Defence, Home, Finance, External Affairs ministers were all present. This is the second time this elite security body has met since April 22nd attack. Their focus was clear on Jammu and Kashmir security, its architecture, anti-terror operations that are currently on as I speak, and India's next move. How are we going to avenge the Pahalgam attack? Immediately after, Prime Minister Modi has also convened the Cabinet Committee meeting on political affairs, a rare gathering, of course, of senior ministers to weigh in on the opposition's demand for a special parliament session on the attack. Now, this isn't routine business. As we see, Prime Minister Modi, for the first time, the CCPA have met since the Pulwama terror strike that happened in 2019, the one that triggered India's Balakot airstrikes. So, at this point, we see the government meaning business. It's clearly bracing up for a muscular, multi-pronged response. Images of this huddle clearly convey a lot more that I could express here. Rahul Gandhi, the opposition leader, has spoken and set the record straight on Pahalgam. We know that there's been huge criticism on the Congress party for some social media posts that they've put out. In fact, today, Rahul Gandhi, senior Congress leader and MP, while addressing a press conference, spoke about the Pahalgam attacks yet again and ensured full support to the Modi government. In fact, he said Prime Minister Modi should take action. They can't do this to India. Here's what he said.
मैं आज कानपुर गया और वहां पे जो टेररिज्म के विक्टिम थे उनसे मैंने बात की, परिवार से मैंने बात की. कोल्ड ब्लडेड तरीके से उनके बेटे को मारा गया है. 28 लोगों को ऐसे मारा गया है. बहुत सारे लोग घायल हुए हैं. मैं सिर्फ ये कहना चाहता हूं कि जिन लोगों ने ये किया है, नॉट इन सम हाफ हार्टेड वे, ऐसे आलतू फालतू तरीके से नहीं, दे हैव टू पे फॉर इट प्रॉपर्ली, कि इनको याद रहे कि हिंदुस्तान के साथ ये नहीं किया जा सकता है. पूरा का पूरा ऑपोजिशन 100% सपोर्ट सरकार को देगा और दे रहा है.
All right, while India is now strategizing its next move, Pakistan is certainly having sleepless nights. Pakistan's Information Minister, Ataullah Trar, has claimed that India could launch a military strike within the next 24 to 36 hours, calling it credible intelligence reports. Trar has accused New Delhi of using the April 22nd Pahalgam massacre, in which 26 civilians were killed, as a pretext for war, blaming India for this. Here's what he said.
Pakistan has credible intelligence that India intends carrying out military action against Pakistan in the next 24 to 36 hours on the pretext of baseless and concocted allegations of involvement in the Pahalgam incident. Indian self-assumed hubristic role of judge, jury and executioner in the region is reckless and vehemently rejected. Pakistan has been the victim of terrorism itself and truly understands the pain of this scourge. We have always condemned terrorism in all its forms and manifestations anywhere in the world.
Now, India, meanwhile, has maintained a tight-lipped diplomatic line itself on this entire issue, with the Ministry of External Affairs yet to respond officially to what Trar has said. Or India might just not. We're waiting to see what India's move would be, but Pakistan clearly at this point looking anxious. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has already set the tone. He's given the Indian forces the green signal to act as needed to eliminate terrorism. All trust reposed on the Indian army, saying that they can choose at their time and place and how to act. Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif, meanwhile, adding fuel to the fire, saying the country was on high alert that Pakistan would consider its nuclear options only if its very survival was at stake. Islamabad has also demanded an international probe now into the Pahalgam attack, even as India moved swiftly to suspend the Indus Water Treaty and clamp down on Pakistani digital propaganda. Pakistan still at this point crying foul, saying, we didn't do it.
This tragedy has been happening once too often in our country. It must stop, but it cannot be stopped overnight. So slow by slow, and many steps would have to be taken by the government and our agencies to reduce the threat of these dangers. So one, obviously, when the Prime Minister says that our armed forces and agencies have all operational freedom, at the end of it, however, it needs political orders. So our political leadership is going to decide what has to be done, and of course then it's as to how to execute that. I think our armed forces are more than always ever ready, and they are lethal in their strength.
Now, while Pakistan says that, they've been constantly violating ceasefire protocols. Along the line of control, fresh provocation from Pakistan, this time in the dead of the night. Between April 29th and 30th, Pakistani army posts have opened unprovoked small arms fire across multiple sectors along the line of control, Naushera, Sundarbani and Akhnur in Jammu regions. The Indian troops, already on high alert post the Pahalgam terror attack, have responded swiftly and proportionately, we hear. The firing did not stop there. Reports confirm Pakistani aggression from across the LOC in Baramulla and Kupwara as well, and even across the international border in Pargwal sector near Jammu. This comes just a week after the brutal terror strike in Pahalgam that killed 26 civilians, including women and children. Since then, India has intensified anti-terror operations in the valley, ramping up troop presence and surveillance along both the LOC and the IB. Is Pakistan testing India's threshold once again? We're certain that these provocations will not go unanswered this time.
उड़ी सेक्टर में मौजूद है। हालांकि सुरक्षा कारणों की वजह से हम एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन नहीं बता पाएंगे, लेकिन ये पूरा इलाका जो है, इस पूरे इलाके में भारतीय सेना के मुताबिक जिस तरह लगातार पिछले 6 दिनों से पाकिस्तान की तरफ से सीज फायर का उल्लंघन किया जा रहा है। अगर आपको दिखाएं तो आप देख सकते हैं मेरे सीधे फेंस है। फेंस की एक तरफ ऊपर वाला जो इलाका है वो पाकिस्तानी इलाका है, वहाँ पाकिस्तानी पोस्ट है, दूसरी तरफ भारत की पोस्ट है। उड़ी सेक्टर में कई जगहों पर भारतीय सेना ने कहा कि पाकिस्तान की तरफ से सीज फायर का उल्लंघन देखने को मिला। वहीं कुपवाड़ा जिले में भी, अखनूर के इलाके में भी, गुरेज में भी बीते कुछ दिनों में जब से पहलगाम आतंकी हमला हुआ है तो पूरा सरहद का इलाका जो है वो हाई अलर्ट पे कर दिया है। दूसरी तरफ
सर रात को ना 8:30 पौने 9 के बीच फायरिंग हुई और 3-4 बार ही होगा।
यहाँ पे फायर तो 3-4 राउंड उन्होंने फेंके हैं, उसके बाद हमारे से भी हुए हैं। तो 7-8 साल के बाद इन्होंने ऐसा पंगा किया है।
10-12 राउंड फायर हुए होंगे, तो हमारी ओर से भी जवाबी कार्रवाई हुई है। तो ये आते दिन चलता रहता है। अब तो काफी टाइम के बाद हुआ, 7-8 साल के बाद यहाँ पे सीज फायर का उल्लंघन। नहीं तो बंद था सब कुछ। अभी थोड़ा फसल की कटाई चल रही है। हमें तो इन चीजों की आदत है पहले की, क्योंकि हम इधर ही रहते हैं, कहाँ जाना हमने भागकर।
सर रात को ना
Right, now we're looking at the UN stepping in and trying to mediate between India and Pakistan. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on a meeting, in fact a phone call that he held, separate ones, with the Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. He's spoken to both leaders individually and strongly condemned the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack. Shehbaz Sharif said that he urges the UN to support a neutral investigation into the Pahalgam attack, rejecting that he called India's baseless accusations, saying that blame on Pakistan has basically got no proof. It's baseless. He's also asked the UN to play a role in resolving the Kashmir dispute under UNSC resolutions. Now, meanwhile, on India's side, S. Jaishankar has said to the UN, condemning the attack, stressing accountability through lawful means. Jaishankar said India is resolved that the perpetrators, the planners, the backers of this attack are brought to justice.
He spoke separately by telephone with Mohammad Shehbaz Sharif, the Prime Minister of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, and he also spoke earlier in the day with Subrahmanyam Jaishankar, the Minister of External Affairs of the Republic of India. In his phone calls, the Secretary General reiterated his strong condemnation of the April 22nd terrorist attack that took place in Jammu and Kashmir. The Secretary General noted the importance of pursuing justice and accountability for these attacks through lawful means. The Secretary General also expressed his deep concern at the rising tensions between India and Pakistan, and he also underscored the need to avoid a confrontation that could result in tragic consequences. The Secretary General offered his good offices to support any de-escalation efforts.
Now, amid rising tensions, the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, will soon be speaking with counterparts in India and Pakistan. Of course, this basically signals that US is interested in ensuring peace between India and Pakistan. United States, we hear, has called on the both nations to exercise restraint and avoid any kind of escalation that could be brutal.
We are reaching out regarding the Kashmir situation, India and Pakistan. That he said we are reaching out to both parties and telling, of course, them to not escalate the situation. The Secretary expects to speak with the foreign ministers of Pakistan and India as early as today or tomorrow. He is encouraging other national leaders, other foreign ministers, to also reach out to the countries on this issue. So it is, again, as I've noted, every day action is being taken. In this case, the Secretary speaking directly to his counterparts in India and Pakistan, we expect certainly the impact he's usually had with the individuals he's spoken with, and certainly with President Trump's leadership, India and Pakistan, having those conversations. It's very important for them.
And meanwhile, back home here in India, especially in my state of Karnataka, we heard of a case of mob lynching. A young man has been lynched, beaten to death by a mob in Karnataka, allegedly over something he said. This is 32-year-old Muhammad Ashraf, a Malayali Muslim coming from Wayanad, Kerala. He was attacked by more than 20 men near Bengaluru. The accused claim that Ashraf allegedly shouted Pakistan Zindabad during a local match that was held. That's the reason that they gave for killing him. But police say that there's no solid proof of their claim. There's no video of it. There's no audio, no confirmed witness to testify that. Only the version that has been put by the accused themselves. What is confirmed, of course, is Ashraf was brutally assaulted. The postmortem says he died of internal bleeding and shock. He was hit repeatedly on the back. He was, in fact, assaulted so brutally that he succumbed while receiving treatment. It wasn't a scuffle here, clearly. This was an execution from the looks of it. Ashraf wasn't even fully well. We hear his family says he had intellectual disability. He'd been mentally unstable since his teens, often wandered off or spoke incoherently. The parents itself admitted. They believe the slogan angle could have been a reason that the accused gave after lynching him. This is what the parents feel. What kind of society, of course, at this point looks for a reason to explain away murder? The case was first treated as a suspicious death. It's now a full-blown murder case. Karnataka police have invoked Section 103(2) of the BNS, the new anti-lynching law. It also allows for life imprisonment or even death penalty if at all those people are convicted. 20 people have been arrested. Home Minister has promised strict action. Let's be clear here. Whatever the provocation, real or imagined, no one has the right to take law into their own hands. Ashraf may have struggled with his mind, but it is this mob that lost its humanity.
An incident of mob lynching has been reported. I was told, it's just a report, that this individual was shouting Pakistan Zindabad and things like that when there was a cricket match going on, a local cricket match. And when they heard this, a few people got together and beat him and all that. That incident has happened. And subsequently, he didn't die on the spot. So we will definitely take this very seriously because this kind of things should not happen anywhere.
Now, taking you through some really tragic story that came in right this morning from Andhra Pradesh. A temple wall collapsed. 8 people lost their lives. This happened when a cement wall came crashing down at the Sri Varaha Lakshmi Narsimha Swami temple during the temple's sacred Chanda Mahotsava festival. Devotees had gathered before sunrise, many of them paying about 300 rupees to get in line for darshan, hoping for a blessed glimpse of the deity. But instead, tragedy struck near the shopping complex on Ghat Road, close to Simhagiri bus stand. The wall, which is part of a new under construction structure, collapsed on those waiting, crushing the faith and hope that many carried with them while they came to see their deity. Early reports point to overnight heavy rainfall that may have loosened the soil beneath the temporary festival arrangements. In one moment, of course, celebrations at that temple there, which had scores of people, turned into absolute chaos and tragedy. Rescue teams rushed in, the injured were moved to hospitals, but for the families of the deceased, no compensation can at this point undo this heartbreak. Though Prime Minister Modi has offered 2 lakh to the family of the deceased, 50,000 for the injured. Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu has announced 25 lakh compensation and ordered a 3-member probe into this case. Of course, many questions about how a half-built wall was right next to a crowded darshan queue. The responsibility is on the administration. Let's hope they take the accountability here. Taking you through yet another case of apathy, a clear case of negligence by Kolkata's administration. We saw earlier today a hotel particularly in Kolkata's cramped underbelly that was ablaze because of a fire that broke out on one of the floors. We see in Kolkata buildings literally lean onto each other. Exits are literally missing. There's hardly any fire safety compliance. And a disaster was only waiting to explode, and here it is. Massive fire that ripped through the 6-story Rituraj Hotel in Kolkata near Sealdah, and it's killed 15 people, including 2 children, injuring at least 13 others. Most we hear died out of suffocation. Others literally jumped from windows in panic with no escape route in sight. 10 fire tenders fought the blaze for nearly 10 hours, but the hotel was already a gas chamber by then. Guests we hear were choked, trapped and burnt alive. Investigations now reveal glaring lapses. There was no working alarms, no sprinklers, only one staircase, and that too was blocked. Imagine ventilation points we hear were sealed off. And all this was happening while there was an illegal construction happening of a dance bar on a top floor. So in every way, this was brute violation and really no administration to check.
ऋतुराज होटल में आग की जो घटना लगी है उसमें अभी तक 14 लोगों का फिगर आया, जो पहले जो हम लोग 15 फिगर बता रहे थे वो उसमें थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन है. टोटल 14 है अभी तक, 14 कैजुअलिटी, 14 জন मारा গেছে এখন অবধি যা আমাদের কাছে খবর আছে. अभी तक 14 लोगों का कैजुअलिटी का हमारे पास में फिगर है. ऋतुराज होटल में
Now, the hotel's fire safety certificate had expired in 2022, yet it continued operating in the heart of the city. Of course, the question is on who gave the nod itself to this hotel. Most importantly, most of these buildings are flouting rules. Why shouldn't there be periodic checks? Shouldn't there be the fire safety officials checking such buildings? If it is a place which has footfall, people are coming in hordes, then it's all the more imperative for the administration to take a close look. But here, this was just a ticking time bomb that finally exploded.
The first floor, they were in renovating the first floor in a large area, almost approx, 100 square meter. They might be trying to extend certain areas. For that, they were keeping the plywood as well as other combustible material. So it seems that while working, there must be some fire initiated, and finally it spreads. Because of that fire, the 2 stairs were impacted, heated up, and the smoke has traveled up to the 2nd and 3rd floor. That is why we find that the 2nd and 3rd floor casualty is more vis-a-vis to down and top.
Now, we know that this wasn't just a freak accident. It was clear negligence, not just on the part of the hotel administration, but also the local authorities, the civic body, the fire safety department. What were they doing? System where it's clearly exposed here that NOCs were granted despite them not having fire exits, not having sprinklers, not having an alarm. And these NOCs are usually renewed periodically. So that renewal has happened without a check. Prime Minister Modi calls this deeply saddening, announcing 2 lakh compensation for the families of the victims and 50,000 to the injured. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has confirmed the toll now, saying that 14 have died. She says, I monitored rescue efforts all night. An inquiry has now been ordered, but let's face it, the real inquiry must ask who cleared the NOC for this death trap. Now, Swedish authorities detain a 16-year-old on Wednesday on suspicion of murdering 3 people at a hair salon in Uppsala. Of course, not sure what drove that man or that boy to carry out the killing. The arrest comes hours before the Walpurgis night celebrations that were set to begin across Sweden. Let's have a look.
Swedish police detained a 16-year-old early on Wednesday on suspicion of murder, authorities said, after 3 people were shot dead in the town of Uppsala the day before. The killings took place in a hair salon just as the university town, some 40 minutes north of Stockholm, was gearing up for Walpurgis Night, one of the country's busiest holidays. At a news conference, the police said they believed it to be an isolated event and not linked to the holiday celebrations. The local head of police told reporters it was too early to say if the shooting was gang-related. But, he added, it was one of the theories they were pursuing particularly intensively. Sweden has suffered from a wave of gang-related violence for more than a decade that has included an epidemic of gun violence. The Swedish prosecution authority said investigators were gathering information, with police conducting interviews and analyzing mobile phones, among other materials that have been seized.
On that note, I'm slipping into a short break. We'll be right back on the other side of a tragic story coming in from the United States. A techie who hails from Mysuru, a real success story. Man who was doing very well for himself, we hear, has killed his family and then turned the gun to himself. What really happened? I'm going to break that down for you on the other side.
Mama must be missing us, na?
Let's take it for a spin, give me one day. Feel the itch under my skin, it's a one day. You believe it when you see me and done, hey. It doesn't matter, just gotta get going.
New GT line, Taigun and Virtus. Volkswagen.
I need expert performance. I need my carrier.
एंटरटेनमेंट आज दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी इंडस्ट्री में से एक है.
There's a new world coming. We could take advantage of that.
Channel your passion into purpose.
We are going to prevail. Life never stops to surprise me.
We are going to own our culture 100%.
Every brand tells a story. And they are the storytellers, the Sutradhars. They present a brand with band, baja and barat to you. They are the Brandwalas.
What is to the nines? In literal terms, it's perfection. But to us, it's not just a phrase, it's an attitude. One that starts at your desk and sends a statement to the world. To the nines is about taking charge. It's a way of life where every seam, every fold, is crafted with excellence. It's timeless elegance and uncompromising quality made for the corner office. It's the ideas that inspire redefining order and elevating the tabletop. To the nines, for the leaders of today and the visionaries of tomorrow.
In the age of OTT platforms, to watch or not to watch, that's the question. Because you are what you watch. It's our review, but your choice to skip it or stream it. Hello and welcome. I'm Krishna Kumar. This is Skip It, Stream It.
Light, camera, and action. Kick back, relax, grab your favorite snack because News9 is here with your weekend dose of entertainment. It's time to take a deeper dive into the buzzworthy happenings of the entertainment world. From celebrity gossips to exclusive conversations, from nostalgic moments to News9's pick of the week, don't worry, we've got you covered here. And I hope you've grabbed your popcorn by now because News9's page 3 is here to serve you everything that we call entertainment. So do stay tuned every Saturday and Sunday, 2:30 p.m.
Welcome back. I'm taking you through a very heartbreaking story that's come in. Haunting end to what seemed like a dream life for this man. A tech genius from Mysuru, celebrated for building virtual worlds, has left behind a real-life nightmare. Harsha Kikeri, known in the tech circles as Harshvardhan, shot dead his wife and one of their sons inside their home in Newcastle, Washington, before turning the gun on himself. In fact, their 7-year-old son, younger son, survived because he was playing outside, we hear, and as soon as distress calls went to the cops, the King County Sheriff's Office responded. They found 3 lifeless bodies in the house. No answers. Of course, the son was devastated, we hear. Many questions being asked about what could have driven this man to something like this. He was so accomplished. He was admired for what he had achieved. He was hailed for his brilliance. But to get to such terrifying extremes, was this a business collapse or a mental health spiral, sudden fit of rage? We possibly will never know, but this man was always in his best spirits. From what we hear, he was highly motivated. In fact, this was his TED speech.
Can we actually use the machines to skill the humans? So the idea is completely inverting this process, saying, okay, can we actually use like robots and machines to teach humans, because so many humans are in need of skills. And you have all heard about how machine learning can do this, can do that, but do we really need more machine learning to take away jobs? Instead of that, can we, I think machines have learnt enough to be students. They have been students long enough. Can we make them graduate and become teachers?
That was Harshvardhan. That was just a snippet of an 18-minute TED talk that he gave. Very motivating and seemed like a high achiever. Speaking about the transformative power of his work and AI, he seemed like quite a visionary. He hails from Mysuru. Quite a shining example there, certainly, of the brilliance that South Indian techies are known to be. He really embodied that. He represented the best of us, an Indian success story shaping global innovation, and yet something crumbled. Now, to talk about this, I have with me Dr. Kiranpreet Kaur, who's a top global acquisition voice. We also have Dr. Rachna Khanna, who's a psychologist, joining us. Netra Bhatia, also a psychologist. To give us a little sense, I'll start with Kiranpreet. This man here, Harshvardhan, located in the United States, was a real achiever. He's had huge success in what he did. So we can't fathom what could have led to this extreme step. Would you want to tell us what an entrepreneurial journey really is like? Do we glamorize it way beyond our comfort?
First and foremost, I think this is a very heartbreaking and tragic event, and the thoughts go out to everyone affected. I think it's a reminder that behind corporate titles and responsibilities, we're all human and there are emotional limits. And very rightly said, I mean, the top level, always feel very isolated and vulnerable. And this is time that we start, talking about it openly, normalize it, that I need a break, I need help. I mean, it only builds a healthier corporate culture, top down. And I think investors...
in the corporate setup, does that even happen? Is there space for people, high achievers like him? I'm sure you'd know, for people who are real hustlers, do they even believe in something like seeking help?
Well, honestly speaking, we don't have anything of that sort much because hustle culture is glorified everywhere, and it goes beyond boundaries. I mean, the boundaries are a little blurred when it comes to professional and personal well-being. They're constant entrepreneur or the top management usually is under constant pressure to deliver, whether it's quarterly results, staying ahead in the corporate competitive market in the corporate. So it is high on vulnerability and extreme loneliness, which then it's more on unspoken mental health battles. I would say it's a life cycle that we have to.
And what's the kind of coping mechanism that you've seen high performing individuals hold on to?
I think psychologically, when they are, they address these issues, a regular psychological evaluation should not be a taboo, and it should be normalized. And people who have access to it have always, shown high performance and also balance their work life very well.
All right, Dr. Rachna, your intervention on this, looking very closely into a case like this man has gone to an extreme case of abnormality where he's killed his own family before taking his own life, right? He spared his 7-year-old son, that too because the boy was outside. But how would you look at this?
So, we are seeing very many cases like this of homicide, of suicide. We are seeing very many cases, and they have become very rampant over the last couple of years. We can see that there is an immense pressure on the society. There is specifically, if we are seeing here, it's the corporate sector, and as very rightly said right now on the panel, that as you go higher up, the level of loneliness goes up and up. And in fact, I deal with a lot of CEOs on almost a daily basis. And it's very sad to know that people barely have any time for themselves, leave aside for their family or a social life. So holistic living, what we profess, is not being led. Now, when that starts to happen, the pressure on an individual grows so immensely. So this person is not like he's a murderer, It's not like that. There is obviously either there is some sort of mental health condition which he was already suffering from. There could have been anxiety, there could have been depression. We really don't know that. And what else? We don't even know if there could have been a psychotic medical condition, which is like schizophrenia, bipolar. We really don't know that, right? And having said that, we need to understand that today, literally 1 out of every 3 persons is having some mental health condition or the other. And we as a society are negating and dismissing it. And I see very sadly when a lot of people, kids, teenage kids, go to their parents, or people go and ask for help, and they just dismiss, saying it's not a big deal and we can deal with it ourselves, and it's okay, we used to feel like that, talk to a friend. No, it is not like that. I don't think we need to dismiss the signs or the red flags at all. Whether the red flags are coming in a colleague, they're coming in a friend, it becomes literally our responsibility to take them to get some help, because it's very hard for somebody who's going through a mental health condition to seek help themselves. So, I ideally, like platforms like this, I'm so sorry something like this has happened to an entire family and such an intelligent human being, and, what a waste of life, I would say. And, it's sad. But having said that, this also shows us that how much is the need for psychoeducation in the society for us to get up to take help when we are having issues, So this is the typical case where there has been so much a build-up of pent-up frustration, probably with an underlying mental health condition, which has led to something like this.
So drastic, right? Dr. Netra, we often do not check on a person who is visibly, seemingly strong, brave, a hustler, a top performer. You think, he or she is sorted, right? What are really the signs to catch on to? Warning signs of someone who may not be doing well. And when we're still, of course, decoding this, right? We are still waiting for the police to tell us what really drove this. If was this any other third-party intervention in this case of killing, or was it just out of his own psyche that he carried out this crime?
Yeah, so first foremost thing is definitely it's a very unfortunate incident which happened. And when it comes to the warning signs, not all the depressive symptoms, it's look like the the person is sad, or the people have only the loss of interest, or they are just weeping and crying. These are definitely the depressive symptoms, but not every time a person who is mentally ill, or we say is going through some kind of psychiatric disorder or mental illness, is basically it's sometimes it comes with a change in sleep, change in sleeping habits, acute stress which the person may not be able to deal with, may not be able to talk to any when it comes to personal, professional health. There's increased irritability, anger. These are the signs which we call it as maybe the kind of a stressful day. Maybe I am having a stressful day. That is why I'm increased irritability. But all these things, when it goes on acute and left untreated, comes as a symptoms, comes as a warning sign, which we need to cater, which we need to take care of when it comes to taking the health and taking the treatment and taking the caution very carefully.
At the end of it, he's killed his family. If allegations are true that it was indeed he who did it and not an unidentified person who carried out the murder, if it was him indeed, then he killed his family. How does one get them on board into believing that they should also end their lives with him?
It comes also with a distorted thinking that I need to protect my family. I need to protect my family from all the kind of the future stressors, from all kind of the future harms. So this comes as a distorted thinking, which we say in psychological language, that this distorted thinking to protecting the family is basically which can lead person to the family suicide.
Finally, Dr. Rachna, from you on the fact that he was an immigrant at the end of it. Dr. Kaur also could possibly jump in on this. Could this add to a person's vulnerability? I mean, he was doing very well, but the fact that he was a person of color, he was in the United States, at the end of it, it was his company. He could have been bootstrapped. Must have been a real struggle. Give us more on the fact that an immigrant setting up business there, how difficult could that be?
It is indeed an extreme struggle. It can be an extreme struggle when we are not in our home ground in any which way, right? So when we are in a comfort zone, obviously a lot of the triggers, a lot of the stimuli, they go down, and we don't become that reactive. But in a place where we are uncomfortable already mentally, if there are things they add to our bucket. So what happens is, for example, the discomfort of, maybe we would say, we don't know about the racism. We don't know, or we also don't know if there could be a struggling social circles, struggling economy. There could be so many struggling finances. There could be so many different aspects of pressure on this individual, and certainly not being in your own comfort zone increases your susceptibility towards any kind of mental health concerns or any kind of mental health disorder. It becomes when the moment we are comfortable, we start decreasing that. So another very important thing to understand is this: man is a social being. We cannot stay without a good social structure. When we go outside into another country to get accepted there, and to also start to, walk their talk is not that easy, specifically when we are with the family. If you're already struggling at work, and work-life balance becomes a very big challenge over there, and that is why you're seeing a lot of exodus of people coming back home now. Ever since you're seeing that India has, economy is improved and so many things, it's become so lucrative, and you're seeing immense number of people who are moving back home from there. It's not so lucrative to go now.
Let me get that from Ms. Kaur on the American dream. Is that still an ambition that many hold, or should this give us a reality check?
I think it's giving us a reality check, because while today's corporate culture glorifies hustle, perfection, non-stop productivity, I think we need to talk about the cost. In the end, it's about mental burnout, isolation, emotional breakdowns, especially among those leaders who are trying to build something from scratch, sleepless nights, investor pressure, personal sacrifices, and in many cases, no one to talk to. It's quite lonely at the top in a lot of cases. So we need to ask, are we really building companies or burning out humans in the process? It's time we integrate emotional well-being into the leadership part. It's important through therapy, coaching. It should be part of a business KPI, not a soft HR initiative, I would say.
Well, I think that's loud and clear. Thanks very much, Dr. Kiran Preet, Netra, and Dr. Rachna for joining us with that. A quick break on that note. We'll be right back on the other side on Bengaluru Metro fining people for eating on a metro. Stay with us.
News9 Corporate Badminton Championships, in collaboration with Pulwama Gopichand Badminton Foundation, is here for all of you to experience the passion and network. This is a great opportunity to experience your childhood memories and also be part of a corporate event which enhances sportsman spirit in all of us. Wishing you all the best and hope to see you here.
Presenting sponsor, Srinidhi University. Kindle the light within. Venue partner, Pulwama Gopichand Badminton Academy, Hyderabad.
I need expert living. I need my career.
Welcome back. A woman in Bengaluru was fined 500 rupees for eating on board a Namma metro coach. That woman there was caught on camera for eating in a metro. She was called out by a fellow passenger, and now that video has gone viral. And Namma Metro has decided to fine her. Remember, eating on a metro isn't just frowned upon, it's prohibited. According to metro rules in Bengaluru, food inside a train is a strict no. The reason is, of course, to keep coaches clean. That's what they've sent as a guideline right after this video went viral. A press release was sent out where it said very clearly that the rules underline that you could be fined for eating inside a metro coach. The reason is to keep these trains clean, avoid littering, maintain basic hygiene, and this is for all passengers, so everyone has to adhere. But here's the question. Is such a ban really needed? Across metros in New York, London, Paris, you'll often see people nibbling on a sandwich or sipping coffee or feeding a child. There's really no outrage or no limitation in metros you see largely across the West. So why does India need a rule book for something as basic as this, eating in a metro? Well, because we've seen what happens when civic sense goes missing. In India, we see how trains like the Vande Bharat, symbols of India's progress, have been literally defaced. People spit in public, they toss garbage out of cars, scribble on the walls, jump signals, and basically it's as if there are no rules that apply. Rules are there, it's meant to flout. That's the approach that we largely have here. And then we wonder why people don't take us seriously. This is exactly why. Look at that Vande Bharat that had windows broken. India is of course aiming high, racing ahead in tech, infrastructure and economy, but our behavior certainly needs to catch up with our ambition. Maybe that fine wasn't just about food. It was about reminding us that civic sense at this point is not an option. It's a must. And we desperately need to incorporate that in our daily life. And hey, let me also tell you that there are countries that ban eating inside tubes, and that includes countries like Singapore, Hong Kong, China. They have steep fines all the way to 21,000 rupees in Indian rupees if you eat inside their metros. Japan and South Korea, you literally get stares like daggers if you eat inside metros. It's frowned upon. You'll rarely ever see anyone violate that unwritten code. Let me bring in our panelist right here, Vivek Menon, who is a civic expert and former advisor to the Chief Minister of Karnataka, to give us a take on should India revisit such a ban? I mean, the kind of support, Vivek, that girl got saying, how dare you? So what if she eats inside the metro? She had no time to breathe. What if she had fluctuating sugar levels? You know, cut her some slack. Do we need a ban? Really?
So, Nabila, it's an interesting question, right? Because it's got two faces to the same coin, right? The bottom line is that, we are victims of our environment. And if you look around us, our cities have become urban slums. Essentially, there's garbage strewn all over the place. There's stench that comes from various parts of our city. And, in a closed environment like a metro, you have to be conscious about what you're doing, how you're littering, how you may end up littering the place. So I think in a certain sense, I do agree with the Bangalore Metro in terms of prohibiting people from carrying foodstuff. It could be sometimes, meats like meats and fish, which could have, a stench that may be obnoxious and obviously disrespectful to the other travelers. So in a sense, we have to agree with these agencies that are trying to enforce this. Now, unfortunately, in India, when we look around, in fact, even in Bangalore, which is supposed to be, a very progressive city, we see, garbage strewn all over the place. The BBMP has recently, in fact, introduced a solid waste management cess of almost close to 24%, an increase. But will we see a clean city? Perhaps not. And I think that's where the problem emanates from. Our agencies basically are very interested in capital expenditures because they make a lot of money through corruption there, but there are absolutely no maintenance contracts that are given out. So in the absence of maintenance, what you see is a degradation of the infrastructure that's actually been built.
Right.
So
I agree, but if you have to deter people, and especially a community like ours, the Indians are known to have no civic sense, and that's a fact. We've seen that across the world. So maybe a fine will really act as a strong deterrent.
Yes, a fine will act as a deterrent. Now, if you look at the Bangalore airport itself, right? I mean, we have enough of eateries within the airport itself, but we do have waste bins that are placed at strategic locations so that people can actually dispose off of waste. So, like I said, we are victims of our environment. If we had a clean environment, if we could create a clean environment, which is the responsibility of our civic agencies, then we could have, food on the metro, because there would be a mechanism, there would be a standard operating procedure to clean these metro compartments as they come through stations, or probably at the end of the day. But in the absence of a mechanism like that, we are going to see some kind of, enforcement that's needed. And at the end of the day, today, I should say that in the past, year or two, we have seen that there are huge violations. Even when you take traffic, there are people going up the wrong way, all of that happening in spite of enforcement. So I think, there has to be some kind of, deterrent. Now, of course, yes, she's been fined 500 rupees, but like you said earlier, it is a larger message that is trying to be conveyed, that, that this kind of maybe attitude, this kind of lack of civic sense is not going to be condoned. So yes, it is a double-edged sword, but this time I have to go with Metro, because at the end of the day, if we let people, until such time that there's a social movement towards changing how people look at our city, how people feel about our cities, this whole national pride or local pride that needs to come in. I mean, just a case in point real quickly, if you look at Sri Lanka, it is a smaller version of India, but it's so much cleaner because there's civic sense that prevails, and there's an enforcement mechanism on the other side that ensures that people do not litter or people do not.
So from what I see here, Bengaluru Metro's move could be encouraged. I think we need to start somewhere. So be it. If it's a fine, then that should act as the first barrier to shape our civic sense. Thanks very much, Vivek, for joining us on that.
Yeah, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, that's it for me here. Thanks very much for joining. Same place, same time tomorrow. Have a great night.
Smash your way to glory at the News9 Corporate Badminton Championship. Get ready for the ultimate badminton showdown. News9 presents the biggest corporate championship, a battle of skill, speed and supremacy. Cash prize of 6 lakh rupees across categories. Venue, Pulwama Gopichand Badminton Academy, Hyderabad. Dates, May 9th to May 11th. A chance to showcase your talent and make a mark. The court is set. Are you ready? Register now.
Presenting sponsor, Srinidhi University. Kindle the light within. Venue partner, Pulwama Gopichand Badminton Academy, Hyderabad.
Coffee?
I am Idea Cool. ये एयर कंडीशनर नहीं, AI कंडीशनर है.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
Welcome to News9 and you are watching On Point with me. Today we have one On Point. We look at the impact of the government's big announcement about the caste survey being part of the next population census. The Narendra Modi Cabinet Committee of Political Affairs announced that the caste data will be part of the next population census. Vaishnav said the Congress and India Alliance governments were conducting caste census exercise for selfish political gains. Ashwini Vaishnav made this announcement once the briefing for the cabinet was over and everyone was taken by surprise, because when it came to caste census, it was being propelled by the Congress party. Rahul Gandhi was at the forefront of making caste census a national agenda for the opposition politics. The caste census has been conducted in Telangana, in Karnataka, in Andhra, and in Bihar. So when Ashwini Vaishnav announced, everyone was taken by surprise.
Governments have always opposed caste census. Caste was not included in all the census operations conducted since independence. In 2010, then Prime Minister late Dr. Manmohan Singh ji had assured the Lok Sabha that the matter of caste census should be considered in the cabinet. A group of ministers